sets that we lug around. Right, I don't see.
Perfectly imperfect.
Right. When she's not writing, speaking, or helping.
Delighted to be here.
Yeah, seems to be.
Need it higher?
I can hear you fine now.
Okay. I'm delighted. Dropping spirits can soar. Share a little bit. This book. New side. This book can transform your life. Just one back. There we. The picture is so much nicer. I'm in the company of dangerous-looking drug dealers, sassy-looking streetwalkers, and a mean-looking woman who just murdered her husband. I'm feeling scared, ashamed, and alone. And I begin to wonder, how did I get here? And you might be wondering the same thing. So come take a journey with me back in time, and we'll find out. Now what to do. 4 years old.
With one of those brand new batteries.
I'm 4 years old, coming down the hallway at home,
Will it connect right away?
and my father looms up in front of me. His face is red, and his voice is loud. He is angry. As he yells at me, and then begins to hit me, I ask him, what did I do? And he responds, if you don't know, I'm not going to tell you. I feel hurt, confused, and upset. I don't know how to behave to not get hit. It's like 10 years old. I'm 10 years old, sitting at the dinner table. I say something that a 10-year-old child might say. My father snaps at me. That's the stupidest thing you ever said, and you don't know what you're talking about. I feel sad, rejected, and in despair. I don't know what to say that I can yell at. Now I'm 15. My mother's friend Claire comes over to visit with her daughter about the same age as me. The four of us stand in the living room and talk. As we're talking, Claire comes close to her daughter, beams a loving look at her, puts her arm around her daughter, pulls her close, and kisses her on the cheek. I'm shocked. I feel a stab in my heart. I feel an emptiness through my whole being. It's the first time I've ever seen a mother beam a loving look at her daughter, hold her close, or kiss her. Hold on. My reaction made me realize that I had been taught that affection and touching were wrong, even bad and dirty somehow. I'd grown up with no warmth, no affection,
and no touch except being hit or spanked. I never saw a face beaming at me in welcome, never felt a loving touch, never got kissed when I went to bed at night. At this moment in the living room, the full realization of that was hitting me in the face. And although my parents did love me, they were what's called emotionally unavailable. So it wasn't that I wasn't loved, it wasn't that I didn't feel loved. I never felt loved. And that's how I got picked up by the police. I had gone out to a local park that evening seeking, the bad boy I had a crush on, who might make me feel wanted, welcome, or loved. I was looking for love in all the wrong places. Socrates says, unexamined life is not worth living. And he was right. So I started to pay attention to examine what had gone off the rails in my life. And when I did that, I found this stew pot of pushed down, unaddressed emotions, like loneliness, emptiness, unworthiness, and shame. Well, okay, there might have been a soupçon of rebelliousness in there too. Okay, just one more thing. So emotions, let's talk about them. We all have them, right? Our thoughts give our life structure, but it's our emotions that provide the energy to drive our lives. Because emotions are energy in motion. And energy is vibration. And vibrations, vibrate. And they do so at different rates. So vibrations will vibrate fast, medium, or slow. And then we use our senses to pick up on that. So with our ears, we hear music, tones, fast, medium, or slow. With our noses, we can smell the different levels of a scent, like a perfume or essential oil. Top note, medium note, bottom note, or low note. A tapestry is going to have what we see with our eyes, light or bright threads, medium threads, and heavier dark threads. So high, medium, and low, light, neutral, or dark, all are needed, right? What would a symphony be without the low notes, or tapestry without the dark threads? We need them all in right proportion. They make our lives richer. And emotions, well, they're the same way. So challenging emotions like shame or unworthiness or anger or fear, I like to think of them as learning emotions. Very often, once we learn what we need to learn from them, they don't come up for us so much anymore. So hopefully this book is going to help you learn about emotions so that you can easily move through them. When we have emotions like anger, fear, or shame, those are heavy in our body. We feel them in our body, don't we? They drag us down. We have less energy of our own. Whereas more enjoyable emotions like love or peace or joy, don't they make us feel lighter? We feel lifted up. You could tell somebody who's feeling down, somebody who's feeling up, you can see. Emotions are also like water. They are best when they are flowing. In fact, in Eastern cultures, the element of water is said to represent emotions. And water is a powerful and wonderful thing. So when water doesn't flow, what do we get? We get a stagnant, stinky, slimy pond. When emotions don't flow, we get a stagnant, stinky, slimy life, right? Like someone who's stuck in a state of resentment or bitterness. It steals the richness away from their lives. Now, when water flows too much, the intensity of too much all at once can create a hurricane, a typhoon, or even a tsunami. And too much intensity, rampant emotions, all at once, likewise, can roar through our lives and really rip apart what we've worked so hard to build. So, when water flows just right, it's peaceful, it's calm, it's enjoyable. And when our emotions flow just right, we're peaceful, calm, and enjoyable. What kind of water do you want to be in? Do you want to be stuck in a stinky, slimy, sluggish space? Do you want to be overcome by a hurricane or typhoon, rampant emotions? Or would you prefer to be in the middle of space, to float gently on a restful creek, river, or stream? Now, emotions are intricately intertwined with spirituality. When we are immersed in stagnant or rampant emotions, it's hard to cultivate a spiritual life, isn't it? It's as if our spirits are held back, held down by these heavy emotions. When your heart is hurting from loss, grief, or betrayal, when your stomach is turning with anger, when your mind is racing with anxiety, well, then it's hard to meditate or pray, or even read a spiritually uplifting book. So how do we stay in the gentle flow? How do we drop that emotional baggage so our spirits can soar? My book will show you how. So this book has 44 different emotions. Now, as you look at them, some of them you might say is not an emotion. I can't see one right now. Maybe determination is not considered an emotion. It's more of a state of being, but for simplicity of language, I'm calling everything emotions tonight. And it has over 100 easy, practical ways to bring all of these into balance. Each emotion in the book has a picture, because a picture tells 1,000 words. It has a quote, well, because I love quotes, okay, so there's quotes in every one of them. But also a quote can almost tell the whole story, just in a couple of lines. It's got a personal story, so that you can relate to it. Somebody said to me once when I was reading this book, it's like you were having a conversation with me. And that's what we want. That's when we feel comfortable. That's when we're able to receive, right? And each one has an intuitive message, a higher perspective on that emotion. The intuitive messages I call loving insights. When I ask for a loving insight on something, I get words that come in my head that are not the same words that I typically will speak. They speak to me in metaphors and analogies and pictures a lot, and they almost always have very wonderful, uplifting, loving messages for people. There's a few exceptions when they're like pretty stern about don't do this. But that's okay, because sometimes we need just a little bit of don't do this. Okay? And then there is, I think especially important, there is practical tips and tools for transformation. So we're not just telling you about things, we're helping you in your own life with them. So let's discover how it guided people from being stuck in the muck to soaring spiritually. So I'm going to talk to you about 5 different emotions from the book. And because so many of us have anxiety, right? Do you actually know anybody who doesn't have anxiety? Okay. We're going to start with anxiety. So we go to the next slide. As I said, each emotion comes with a picture, and this picture could almost give you anxiety. But you really know that it's very anxiety producing. Let's just move on to the next slide there. The quote is, "Our anxiety does not empty tomorrow of its sorrows, but only empties today of its stress." So we're going to talk about Angela. Angela struggled with anxiety. She worried about what she should say or not say, what she should do or not do. She was jittery about her job. She fretted when she got up in the morning, she fretted during the day, and she fretted when she went back to sleep at night. Her mind was racing all the time. Her anxiety was consuming her. And here's what Loving Insights has to say on anxiety. Listen to yourself. Really listen to the words being broadcast by your internal radio system. Would you listen to a cable show that continually told you that disaster is imminent, that you're not going to get your desires, and that you are a screw up? You would change the channel, or you would block that channel from your home. All your body and your mind are your internal home. You need to take actions to keep it harmonious. So we're gonna look at some of the actions I gave Angela to keep her internal system harmonious. So let's practice some of these. So just check into how you're feeling, like from 1 to 10, how you're feeling about your anxiety level. 1 is like hardly any, and 10 is a lot. And then once you take one thumb and press it in the palm of the other hand. Not really hard, just press it in there. And take a breath in. Hold it and let it go. And you might notice, usually when I do this, I notice my shoulders starting to drop and relax, right? I see a nodding there. Isn't that wonderful? Such a simple movement. And like, pretty much I wouldn't do this when I was driving, but you can do it almost everywhere else. Okay. So take another breath in. Enjoy that moment of relaxation and let this go. We go to the second one. I have a friend who just loves this one. And what you do is you're just going to tap on your chin with one, or usually I end up using 2 fingers, so it's not a magic thing. When I start to do that, I feel my diaphragm drop, so there's more room for air. And then think internally. It's okay to say it out loud because it moves your shit around. Think internally, I choose peace. I love that phrase, I choose peace, because it's an action phrase. I am actively choosing peace. So let's take a breath, let go of that. Notice how you're feeling. And the third one, we're just going to place a palm on your forehead. Now you might remember that when somebody gets a shock in their lives, they do this, don't they? So we're just going to do this gently. And the reason you do this when you have a shock is because your body automatically knows this is calming for you. Just hold your palm on your forehead. Take a breath. And then if you want, just put your other palm at the base of your skull. There's that little oval-shaped kind of soft area there. That's called the occiput. Now you're cradling your head. You are cradling yourself. Take a deep breath and just notice how you're feeling. And notice the energy in the room just came real, got a lot softer and nicer. All right. So let's go to the next one, which is compassion. I should back up. We can leave the slide there, but I should back up and say that it did help Angela a lot. And she was able to now use her tools to calm herself and go through her life in a much better way. So compassion is a wonderful emotion, and we'll take a look at the picture for compassion. So these two are directly connected to each other, aren't they? And they're in sync energetically. I mean, one of the most fun things from your life is finding the pictures of these things. And the quotes. Let's take a look at the quote. More smiling, less worrying. More compassion, less judgment. More blessed, less stressed. More love, less hate. Sounds like it could be the quote for your church, right? Let's hear Connie's story. Connie had a big heart, and she always wanted to help people, and that's a good thing. But she was getting stretched thin and tired. Doesn't that happen sometimes? Those of us who are helpers, we might help a little more than we're actually able to help. She had compassion fatigue. And then when she saw the people for whom she spent time, energy, effort, and money with new cell phones and having new experiences that she couldn't have, she started to feel uncharitable. Connie needed to learn a new way. Okay, I see some resonance here. All right, let's see what Loving Insights has to say. So compassion is your heart opening to receive and pass on the wisdom from above. You might envision your compassion as a means for lifting the energy around a person or situation, so their own creativity and connection with their own inner guides can come through for them. This allows that person to become more wise and self-empowered and make a difference in their own. Let's see what we can do with this. How did I guide Connie to overcome her compassion? One of my wonderful teachers gave me this invocation, and that is when you see a person or hear of a person that needs some assistance, before you leap out to do that, you can use this invocation. And what you're doing is you're asking whatever your concept is. For some person, it might be their guides, your guides, angels, archangels. It might be divine mind. It might be universal energy. It could be anything, okay? So you're asking for that person to have virtuous energy given to them. And usually that virtuous energy is much better than anything we could think of or do. Now, if you are in a place to do this physically, you can put your hand out like this or like this, and just imagine that light is going out from your hand to that person. But you don't have to. You know, if you're in public, you just do it with your mind. And I do this all day long. When I'm driving and I see people on the street, I'm either saying in my mind, may you be blessed, or I'm saying whatever virtuous energy this person needs, let it be so now. So hopefully sending out those streamers of light all the time. Another way to do it is an action. And this is, I love this one. You're going to set a physical signal for when you should act, and when you should be neutral, and when you should step back. Okay, so we know that if we see somebody we like or we love, we move toward them, right? And if we're just looking at something we don't particularly care about, we're just standing pretty stable, pretty neutral. If you walk into an environment and there's somebody who looks threatening or not good, you go back, right? So your body automatically does that for you. So if you think about this person, and you can ask internally to have this same signal, that if you should help this person, you're going to kind of lean forward a little bit. If you should maybe just hang out and wait and, suss it out, you're going to stay neutral. If this is not the right thing for you to do, you're going to go back. So this kind of sway test, it's called, is really useful in life. And by being able to discern, like Connie being able to discern and use these tools, and not trying to do everything herself, which we call rescuing, it's another whole topic. She saved time and energy for true compassion. And her spirit is Soar. Let's take a look at, okay, who's ever been, okay, something we all go through. Did you ever notice they say, they gave me criticism, like it's a gift? Is that a gift, right? They gave me criticism. Okay, where's the return window on that one? So let's take a look at the picture for criticism. Doesn't it feel like that? And the quote is by Dale Carnegie. Any fool can criticize, complain, and condemn, and most fools do. But it takes character and self-control to be understanding and forgiving. Okay, so let's look at Carrie's story. Carrie came to me feeling hurt and rejected because of his family's criticism. Now, he came from a family that, I don't know if any of you have known families like that. Unless you're number one, it didn't count. Come in number two, we're not going to pay attention to that at all. So their criticism of so many things in his life, as you might expect, undermined his confidence in himself. He was not living his life's purpose. What Loving Insight says on criticism is, if you were to look in the heart of people who tend to criticize you, you would see a mess that is dark, spiky, and inflamed. These people have been the recipients of criticism themselves. Their brains have learned to think along these lines. And their hearts have not yet awakened to the truth that everybody simply is doing the best that they can. So how did I coach Carrie to overcome criticism? Okay, this one is totally fun. You know how when you see something and they say, don't try this at home? Okay, do try this at home. All right. So you're going to choose a person in a criticism that you want to work on. You're going to find an empty wall somewhere in your house, or door. Door is good too if you don't have a lot of empty wall space. Get a variety of pillows of different sizes and weights. You're going to keep those pillows right there by you, and then you're going to stand in front of that, let's say the door, and imagine that person, that critical person is standing there. Now you're going to pick one of the pillows that is about the same size and weight as what that criticism felt like for you. And you might want to start with a littler one, or maybe you want to start with a big, heavy one. Totally up to you. So you're going to pick that up, and you're going to put their criticism in that pillow. In there, okay. And now you're gonna take that pillow and with all your might, you're gonna throw it at them. And you're gonna say out loud, I give this criticism back to you. Take this, it's not mine, I don't want it, it's yours. You use all the words you want to use. You can swear too, it's okay. And you can either go get that pillow, bring it back, do it again, or you've got your pile, you could choose another one, and you're gonna do that until you feel clear. Physical movement is really important. Action is the best antidote for anxiety, and physical movement is a great antidote for getting stuff out of us. Once you are finished and the space is empty, well, nature abhors a void, right?
yeah.
So you're going to not leave a void. You're going to fill the space you just created in yourself with light. Violet light, gold light, white light, rose light, green light, blue, I don't care. Let it be whatever comes in. Just ask for light to come in. You're going to fill that space. And or you might want to intentionally fill that space with what was missing. Self-confidence, joy, spontaneity. So you can ask for those qualities to come in on the light as well. Okay. Carrie did this and felt much better, much more able to stand up straight and be himself and find his purpose. Okay, resentment. Take a look at the picture for resentment. Right? And the quote says it as well. Resentment is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. Makes a lot of sense. So Renee's story, Renee felt hurt when the life that she planned didn't work out the way she planned it. And she began to resent the people she felt were responsible. And she even began to resent people who did have the life that had nothing to do with it, but they were living the life she had wanted. She was trapped in a prison of resentment. So we're just going to hold that slide there for a minute. So now Renee, she had been hurt from childhood abuse, and she was harboring hurt. So I intentionally use the word harbor. If you have hurt, you can have it or not have it. But when you harbor something, you're giving it a home. Boats go to the harbor to stay there usually, right? You are keeping it in an enclosed place, you are harboring it. And her hurts then had hardened into resentment. And that was poisoning her current day relationships. Thanks. So loving insight says is to resent something is to resend it. I sent it and then I resent it. And then I resent it again. We're sending ourselves the same message. We're relieving that unwanted thing, experience over and over instead of living it once, learning the lesson, and moving on. It will burn you out. This is one loving insight that gets pretty stern, okay? Free yourself from resentment, or like a vulture consuming the carcass of a deceased animal, it will eat away at you until nothing is left. So how do we help Renee to rewrite her story so she could release her resentment? Okay, so what you want to do is imagine the scene of what you resent like it's on an old TV. So if any of you remember the old black and white TVs, you can use that, or you might use like a cracked old, Generation 1 iPad, whatever represents old to you. And imagine that scene on there. Now, you're going to turn that off and take it and throw it in the trash can. Now you're going to rewrite that scene. You get to be the director. You can send some actors home. You can hire new actors. You can change the script of the play. It's all in your mind. Our mind doesn't necessarily know the difference between truth and what we're telling it to think. So, hey, create a scene that's more pleasant to you. Redo that scene. In that new scene, you might see that person deciding not to do whatever they do.
Oh, yeah.
You might see them being guided by their angels or their guides or their mentors or somebody wiser, adult here on earth, just helping them understand how to do a different way. You might see them apologizing to you, like whatever whatever good action you want, you kind of want to keep it virtuous and good because that affects us. Whatever good action you want to see happen. Then you see that scene being played out and whatever's right, a giant high definition TV screen, just really enjoy watching that. And give yourself a remote too. So you can turn that on and off, you can slow it down, you can watch it again. You might want to reverse it a little bit, change the scene a little bit more. You can do whatever you want. Feel all the good feelings that come with that new scene. Okay. And we're going to complete with the fifth one, which is faith. It seems appropriate, right? Favorite pictures, isn't that beautiful? To have faith is to trust yourself to the water. When you swim, you don't grab a hold of the water, because if you do, you will sink and drown. Instead, you relax and flow. Okay. The class here is actually me. So on my third trip to a silent meditation retreat in the hills of India, with my beloved spiritual teacher, Amma, I finally cried. But I didn't cry because I found a deep connection. I cried because I couldn't seem to feel the deep devotion that I was seeing in everyone around me. They're all bowing at her feet and doing all this stuff, and I was like, okay. So let's hear what Loving Insights has to say about faith. Faith is a journey, not a destination. Faith is the name of all the stops on the train tracks. Faith is the chasm that looms large before you. Faith is both the question and the answer. So here's how I supported my faith journey. I'm creating an acropoem. That means acronym poem. You know, an acronym is when you use the first letter of different things, right? Okay. So you choose a word that you want to work with. In my case, it was doubt and faith. We both. And you're going to write each letter down in a column on the left. So D-O-U-B-T. And then you're going to write a poem. Each line begins with the letter at the left, and we're going to just see how this is done. So we can go to the next slide. Doubt. Okay, let's go to the next one. Doubt seems to dog me. Out of the blue, it takes hold, undermining my faith. But then I remember that I can trust my heart to guide me right. So something seems to happen when I go through this process. This is a difficulty, right? A little more difficulty. I didn't intend. I didn't sit down and say, I'm going to make the last line good. It just sort of organically happens. It's like your subconscious is working this out for you. So let's try faith. Faith. Freeing myself from absence of faith. Intentionally. Turning my attention to how to surrender. So these two poems and several others are in the book. So you can see you get several varieties of how it's done. And let's see. So let's sort of bring this all into one whole with my client Jane. Jane's journey of dropping her emotional baggage so her spirit could soar. Jane was born and raised in an alcoholic and abusive family. A lot of times those families have a lot of denial. You can't talk to them about what's going on, right? Didn't happen. So she learned to use only her left brain, her intellect, and she got really good at it. She's a very smart person. She was successfully climbing the corporate ladder. She was traveling. She was making a lot of money. Then a stroke changed everything. Only in her 50s. She couldn't keep up the pace. She lost her job. She had chronic disability. She no longer had the busy schedule, but she still had the busy mind. And the hurts that she had used, I'm going to call it an addiction of work. She had used the addiction of work to distract herself from her early age hurts. Without that addiction, they began to surface. So using several of the exercises in my book, we were able to uncover her early age hurts. coming from unpredictable and unsafe adults. Discover how they affected her life. She was only using her left brain. And recover her ability to be her true self. Jane's journey into transformation was she could finally slow down and relax. She was able to meditate and pray. Her intuition blossomed. She now uses both intellect and intuition, and her spirit is soaring. So you can just leave it there. Back one. Back one. So Jane's experience of dropping her emotional baggage and discovering her intuitive spiritual side, well, that also happened for me. Today you see before you the woman that 19-year-old young girl became. I'm no longer that lonely, ashamed, and scared young woman. And how can I be so confident that what I have in my book works? I have used all of the 100+ tips and tools for transformation that are in the book. I chose the best ones for this book for you. If it's possible for me, it's possible for you. You, too, can drop your emotional baggage so your spirit can soar. You can free yourself to be your true self. I have devoted nearly 25 years to helping other people in this way. All of these experiences are brought together in a rich reservoir of intuitive wisdom, as well as the many practical tips and tools for transformation in my book. And if you'd like your very own copy of this book, we have a giant pile of them right here on the table. I'll be over there. You can have it signed. This is a lifelong resource. You want to keep it, and people tell me they keep it on their bedside. Somebody just texted me yesterday and said she was like using it like an oracle card. She would just open it up in the morning and see what topic she got, and she got bliss, topic of bliss. So that's a wonderful way to do it. A friend of mine had a teenage daughter, had quite a difficult situation happen, and she was able to use this book because it's written in very conversational language that even a young teen was able to process and say, oh, I understand. So many people will give it as gifts. Something I never expected. Like I thought this was going to be, somebody would buy it for themselves, and people are like, want to give it as gifts. A friend of mine gave it to all her friends because she wants to help them when they're feeling bad. So, in addition to everything that's in the book, if you would like to treat yourself to a personalized, intuitive message, a loving insights message, it's like getting a hug from heaven. It's 99% loving, uplifting, and positive. Every once in a while, there's that, you want to be careful of this. They're really amazing and wonderful, and they also make a good gift. And all you need to do is, give me permission to ask for information. I don't know anything about you. I don't really need to know anything about you. I'm not going to tell you anything personal. It's more about like, here's what's going on for you. Here's a different way to look at it. So all a portion of the proceeds from the purchases of the book here today, as well as any intuitive personal messages ordered by the end of September, will go to a New Way Church. Still donation. So I'm going to conclude by bringing it back to the beginning, and that is the dedication. We don't have it on it. Okay. To the light. May it glow, grow, and flow within and between everyone on earth. May all beings on earth know the light, feel the light, be the light, and share the light. May there be peace on earth. Peace, peace, and perfect peace. Thank you.